So we launched Google Umbono in 2011, and the whole point of the Umbono program is really just to bring together the pieces of the tech entrepreneurial ecosystem. So it's all about giving the startups here in South Africa an opportunity to turn their idea into a business. In its essence, at its core, what Umbono does is like a matchmaking service between angel investors who are willing to put high-risk seed capital to work and startups who are just looking for an opportunity to turn their idea into a real legitimate business. The experience to date has been fantastic, and I think you'll hear from them in their own words like where they're headed and how they're poised for their own success.
I'm Fahim, co-founder of Peshash.
Hi, I'm Rahul Jain. I'm a co-founder with Peach Payments.
Hi there, my name is Evan and this is Mark. Hi. I'm the technical component of Tax Tim and Mark is the tax brain.
I'm John Galley and I'm Rich Ruff.
And I'm Michelle Savage.
And we are Giga.
At Peshash, we're targeting international markets with our app, but we thought it would be nice to give it a South African flavor. That's why we called it Peshash, an old South African word for something that's cool. Peshash is the app that lets you share real-world shopping. It's always been an incredibly social experience. With Peshash, when you see a great buy, a sale, a pair of shoes that you absolutely love, you snap a picture, you tag the store, price, and you share it. Of course, we're integrated with Facebook and Twitter as well, so you can communicate with your existing communities too.
Peach Payments is an online payment service provider focusing on the emerging markets. Our aim is to make payments as simple as possible for international merchants looking to monetize audiences in these markets.
Essentially what we've created together is TaxTim. He's a virtual online tax assistant who asks you simple questions one by one and then converts your answers into a completed tax return. He cuts out all the difficult questions, he cuts out all the jargon, he brings everything into one spot so you can be confident about doing your own tax return.
We developed the product from an actual need. I was one day doing Evan's taxes, and he said to me that it should be impossible that not everyone has access and is able to do their taxes. He asked, can he sort of digitize my brain? And we went through 3 or 4 rounds of some slide decks and a pitch, and then eventually the 4th round was an actual pitch to the Google guys.
Completely terrifying meeting with a board of shadowy figures.
Yeah, to investors and people we've never met. Stood there, it was supposed to be a 15-minute pitch, went on 45 minutes with questions. And then I think
it was actually a lot of fun. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, good taste of what was to come.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, Evan, you phoned me and said,
we got the phone call
to say that we were selected.
Accepted.
Yeah.
So we were excited.
Gigam is an events listing application that we built, which we hope is going to take the pain away of discovering, promoting, and monetizing events. Yeah. What it does is it automatically aggregates a bunch of events from Facebook and other sources on the internet, and basically creates in any given city the biggest, most comprehensive and diverse set of events available in that city, as well as venues. If you want to go dubstepping on a Friday night and then find something to do with your kids on Sunday, you've got to go digging and look at a lot of sites. So we thought there's a big opportunity here for bringing the marketplace closer together. Why the name Gigam? It's a question we get asked quite often. We looked at all kinds of things to do with gig and stumbled across Gigam, which kind of works. Ham, dissemination, expert, gigs, kind of makes sense. Gotham, the city's much bigger than we thought it was. Buckingham, with the kings of events. And in the end, it was like we're ready to launch. Let's pick one of these 200 names and stick with it. Gigam was the one that resonated the most.
To start off with though, we want to target 2 specific communities. The huge fashion community that are talking about the great buys and the latest new fashion trends, and the foodie community that are talking about the best dishes or the best restaurants in and around the community.
Think about an international merchant. One of the biggest questions that they have today is how do they access consumers in some of the fastest growing markets in the world. Some of these markets include India, Nigeria, Kenya. One of the biggest challenges facing these merchants is that the traditional payment systems that have been highly successful in Western Europe and North America may or may not be as relevant in some of these markets. This is where Peach Payments fits in. We work to aggregate and to make the most relevant payment systems from these markets available to our merchants so that they can offer those payment options that their consumers in these markets prefer and use on an everyday basis.
We developed Tax Tim as a product, as a dialogue approach, as Evan said, to help the taxpayer. And Tim is a virtual character. He talks to you, asks you questions, takes away all that tax difficulty. And at the end, he produces your tax return and then helps you file that with SARS, with e-filing. Simple as that, a process in under 10 minutes. I think the key thing is that everything the taxpayer needs is on one website, and it's simple, easy, using hyperlinks. The forms are available there. So unlike SARS websites or other company websites, you have to sort of download everything all over the place. And it's very difficult to find, as well as going through all the jargon. So everything is online, is on the TaxTim website. So as Evan said, from registration, the first form that you have to fill out, all the way through to filling out your tax return. We've also included a help desk, blog posts, basically aimed at the consumer, at the taxpayer. Those simple things and those simple questions that they ask, that they're always confused about, we aim to put that all on one side.
Most event guides, it's not really viable for them to focus on the little niches, to focus on chess and cycling and yoga and stuff like that, which is why you generally see the same top 20 and the same top 40 events in every gig guide as you see on the posters on the street. We've got all of it. We've got mobility, and we provide tools for those micro communities to activate them.
Over the last 2 years, there's really been this amazing energy on the ground. You can just tell that something's about to happen, and that's the tech ecosystem. And it's amazing to see that these pockets of excellence that used to operate by themselves and operate in the independent silos are finally working together, collaborating. And I think it comes from experience and from tried and tested entrepreneurs who have started out in entrepreneurial endeavors and realized just how hard it is and just how important those support networks and just working together actually is. And people are starting to now put the ecosystem and the tech community above themselves. As opposed to doing it for their own individual efforts, they're starting to realize the value of a tech ecosystem. And what you find with initiatives such as the Umbono program and having Google come on board and really just come into this ecosystem with exposure, with awareness, with a brand that pulls international attention, you give all those pockets of excellence a platform to leverage off. You give this ecosystem a physical space to come and collaborate together, to have a node of activity. If people want to know what's happening in the tech ecosystem, they need a physical location to go to meet people, and that's what a tech hub becomes, a country. And if we were to just work together and collaborate and actually create this ecosystem with critical mass in it, a lot more can come from that.
Pashash is looking to grow internationally, and joining the Google Umbono program has been hugely beneficial. It's given us great access to a bunch of great Google mentors in London and in the US. It's also given us a network of angel investors that are on call all the time to give us feedback on our application and on our strategy going forward.
So what we really benefited from was this mentorship, this expertise that the Google team and the angel network and their networks that brought to the table. So that's something that we're really happy that it panned out as we had expected, and in fact it even exceeded our expectations.
Before I came into the program, I'd been trying to start companies on my own before. I never had a team, never had kind of the space to work in, whether it be the fast internet or at least the financial support. And just having those from Umbono was great, that I could actually dedicate myself to exploring an idea and getting it produced and prototyped.
Yeah, I mean, I come from the corporate world. We work for corporates locally and internationally, and not completely new to the startup space. So it was really good to be in a program that I wasn't just looking around, not knowing what I was doing, running around like a headless chicken. So that was really helpful to actually be in an environment like that.
The Umbono program has been really interesting and really valuable. I think undeniably it's accelerated us on so many levels. Access to mentors, the facilities, the resources, but just really being deep in the kind of thinking that makes startups grow. And in that space and in that headspace on every level has been really exciting. It's also been of lots of benefit to be working with other teams. We share advice, we share knowledge, we've learned a lot from them.
Being in the startup culture is invaluable, really, because it teaches you to think in a way that is the most efficient. It teaches you to operate your business in a way that is the most efficient, and the most efficient for yourself and your business operations, but also for your investors.
What I enjoy most about working at Pashash is understanding the Pashash user. See, our entire system is entirely powered by our users, and every bit of content is an example of user-generated content. I love trying to understand them, and I want to build a product that they absolutely love using.
Currently, we've been aggressively growing our user base in Africa. Like I said, we are already set up in Cape Town, and we've been focusing on South African merchants looking to sell within South Africa, and also at merchants who are looking at multiple African countries. So within the next few months, we hope to bring on a number of other merchants who are looking to sell into Kenya and Nigeria, along with the existing base that we have in South Africa.
What the taxpayer says to us, we've got feedback buttons all the way.
On every step, if someone has a problem with one of our questions, they can press, give feedback or ask a question, and then Mark goes in and amends the question to make it clearer, and basically takes in what people are asking the most and writes these big blog posts about it.
But what we've also discovered, and from my own personal experience, is that when I was doing my undergraduate degree, and even into articles, that I couldn't fill out a tax return. So we discovered that students who are learning to become chartered accountants, to become tax professionals, or just accountants, don't know how to fill out a tax return.
And then if you get taught, it's not part of the
It's
education.
not part of the education. So what we've done is we've gone into currently 4 universities, UCT, UJ, UWC and WITS, and we provided a project using TaxTim that the students then learn how to fill out a tax return. Currently we're speaking to a whole bunch of other universities as well. So the education side is really, really important, because how can we say we want to educate the taxpayer without also trying to educate the next generation of tax professionals?
Imagine being able to step out of a restaurant, for example, on Long Street and think, I want to go clubbing now, and flip up a gig and see not only the clubbing events that are going on around you, but the mashed up feed of what's going on. And be part of that conversation, to enable that conversation, we think would be really exciting, especially in the pocket, mobile.
Because most people only look at the build-up to events. We think there's quite a lot of value in the live events and after the events as well.
So we were expecting people to start drilling down into their exact interest to start off with. I'm into art and theatre, that's what I'm going to drill into. But it turns out most people are actually quite interested in looking at everything. They're as interested in seeing about the yoga and the bits and pieces happening on the edges as the stuff they actually say they're interested in on their Facebook pages. And that's quite exciting and quite interesting. It means that maybe people would go out to a lot more stuff if they just knew it was happening.
Pashash is available in the iPhone App Store. We've tried to make the experience as intuitive and streamlined as possible, and it's really a beautiful app. Go on, download it, give it a shot.
Well, I also want to have tax being everyone, not that everyone wants to, but everyone thinking about tax. So we're tying up some strategic partnerships with other financial companies that basically, at the end of every transaction that someone makes, there'll be sort of, I want to have something at the bottom that says this may be a tax transaction kind of brought to you by TaxTim, something like that, so that we are sort of seen as the go-to online interactive way of doing taxes, whether it's in South Africa and hopefully onwards into the rest of the world.
The Google Umbono program is an indication that you can have major players coming in here and joining these efforts.